Hello, this is Joe Navickas, and this video is going to talk about American debt, where we're at, and kind of where we're going. Right now, what we're seeing kind of a return to overall household debt in the United States before the 2008 financial crisis. And if you look, there's been a big increase in student loan debt, and then also auto loans. So auto loans have been on the rise too. So those two factors are kind of driving it forward. Credit card debt, if you look at credit card debt is back to where it was. A little over $1 trillion now in credit card debt. So that kind of went up also. But you can see a 10% rise in student loan and then auto loans. So let's talk about what's going on. Credit card debt. We have 1.02 trillion in 2017. So we just kind of topped where we're at in April of 2008. Revolving credit has been growing at 4.9% a year. 171 million people have access to credit cards in the U.S. And right now, what companies are doing, they're starting to target again below average credit customers. They've done this many of times. This time, they're offering them lower limits, which is good. So they're not giving them high limits on the credit cards, but they're still nonetheless targeting those lower credit scores. Automobile debt. 25% of Americans surveyed by the Fed reported that either them or their spouse purchased or leased a new truck in the last year. So right now there's a lot of cheap financing deals to lease a car, and also with interest rates being low, automobile manufacturers have provided 0% financing, in some cases up to 72 months. There are a lot of people now that are buying cars on these 0% deals for 60 months or 72 months. When they survey them, many of them don't even plan on owning the car that long. So it's kind of funny that they're going with these long financing deals and then they're not planning on owning the car. I think the next big bubble potentially could be an automobile loan servicing. Right now, 6 million people are at least 90 days late on their automobile payment. And so what we're seeing right now, if a lot of people lose their jobs and if the economy were ever to go south here, you're looking at huge losses because people will stop paying for their leases and or their car payments. So keep an eye on that one. If the economy goes well, there's nothing really to fear there. All right, college debt. Putting all things aside, it pays to have a college degree still. And so there's a lot of articles, a lot of newsletters out there that are saying that, is college really worth the deal? If we look at median pay, so that's the average pay. If we look at a high school diploma, we're right here. Okay, so if we get a bachelor's degree, our pay is going to be much, much higher if we get the bachelor's degree. I think the problem with that, though, that we're seeing only 60% of students who start an undergraduate degree actually complete the degree. So what that means is 40% of students that are going into a four-year university program, they're not finishing. So many of those students are borrowing money, and they're borrowing money, they're not going to get the degree to earn this income. So they're stuck over here with just a high school degree, maybe some college, but then they have this big debt hanging over their head. So the moral of the story is, if you're going to go to college in the U.S., you want to, and you're borrowing, you want to complete that four-year program. If we look at auto and student loan balances, so you can see that steady rise in student loans over the last 10 years. This goes back to 2004 up to 2014, and then you can see auto loans are back on the uptick higher. I was pretty lucky. I went to an affordable state school, and on top of that, I didn't really buy a new car until I was 30 years old. So I always drove an old used car, never had a car payment, and I had no student debt. So my debt load was very low in my 20s, and I think a lot of our students need to kind of think about that to really get ahead, is to not borrow heavily in their 20s and actually go in the other direction and make investments. Speaking of investments, the average American family has only $5,000 saved for retirement. Only 1/3 of Americans have tax-deferred account through their employer. So many people are offered that through their employer, and only 1/3 of them take them up on it. So this shows you that many Americans are not really serious about retirement and saving for retirement. So you could look at retirement probably moving forward is going to be only for those who actually go out and seek it. So what you can do, first of all, you got to get educated. You got to You got to look at videos like this. You got to read books. You got to look at articles online and really get educated about what's going on. And then create a plan for yourself. Understand how to passive invest, so where you're making monthly contributions into different types of investments. Create a balance sheet and income statement annually to see where you're at. And the most important thing is to pay yourself first. So set money aside out of every paycheck. Pay yourself first. And then when you're young, to get ahead and start an emergency fund and maintain that emergency fund throughout your life. If you like this video, subscribe to me on YouTube at Joe Navickas, and keep watching, and more videos will follow.